Hi guys, welcome to my channel. In today's video, let's put the current M4 iPad Pro and last gen's M2 iPad Pro against each other and see what kind of improvements you get with this new one. I will cover everything from design, display, performance, gaming, cameras, speakers, and extras here guys. I will add timestamps below if you wish to jump to your favorite section. So let's get started. First up, it's design. There is no denying the fact that as soon as you pick the new iPad Pro, after using the old one, you will certainly find it lighter. Actually, 22 grams lighter on the 11-inch version, which is what I have here. Both the iPad Pros are 11-inch size. So the old one weighs 466 grams and the new one is 444 grams. The thinness is the next thing, which is obvious. You here have 5.3 mm on the new one against 5.9 mm on the old one. The new 13-inch is even thinner at just 5.1 mm. Again, on paper, the difference feels minute, but in real-life usage, you certainly can feel and appreciate that thinness. This new iPad Pro feels something out of a sci-fi movie or show where you're just getting closer to holding that piece of glass, and this one is not far from it. Dimensions-wise, this new one is slightly taller, but slightly less wider than the old one. So yes, all of your old cases will not work. You need to buy cases specifically designed for the new iPad Pro. Same is the case with the magnets at the back. Apple rearranged them completely, so any magnetic stand or dock or keyboard case previously designed for the iPad Pros will not work with the new one. You need to buy accessories designed specially for this new M4 iPad Pro. The other difference obviously is the front camera, which is moved to the landscape side. This means, again, rearrangement of magnets to accommodate the Apple Pencil. So the old Apple Pencil Gen 2, which works with the M2 iPad Pro, does not work with the new one. You need to buy the new Apple Pencil Pro or the USB-C Apple Pencil. Also at the back, the camera module changed. Apple pulled off the wide-angle camera and instead now we have this black dot, which is the LiDAR scanner. Not sure why Apple did this, and this also means that you will not be able to shoot spatial video on the new iPad Pro, especially after Apple made such a big scene about spatial videos on their VR headsets. You will not be able to shoot them now with this new iPad Pro, but the old one can do it. Strange. Also, the entire camera cluster does not have that shiny glass at the back like before. Instead, we get that same metal from the back behind these lenses as well. Does that look good? Well, I'm not sure. It looks like the iPad has already one of those dbrand skins applied on it. Next, let's get to that all-important display. So we have the standard LCD panel on the old one against the OLED panel on the new one. Not just a single layer, but it's an industry-first dual-layer OLED panel. The pixel density on both of them is almost the same at 264 ppi, but the SDR brightness on the new one is 1000 nits now compared to 600 nits on the M2 Pro. And the new one also has a peak 1600 nits of brightness for HDR content. Now, does this make a difference? Yes, especially if you live in a sunny country and work on your iPad outdoors. It's fairly sunny here today in the UK, and you can see how both the screens compare against each other with max brightness. The M4 Pro certainly is a bit more manageable compared to the old one if you decide to work outside under bright direct sunlight, but I wouldn't recommend that. Just do it at least under a shade. And then the next thing about the OLED panel is those deep blacks when watching content. I'm not sure if the camera is capturing it correctly, as it seems to be exaggerating a bit here, especially on the LCD panel. The LCD panel looks as if someone has flashed a light on it, but in person, there is no denying the fact that you get perfect blacks, which do make the colors pop on the OLED panel. Even the bars, which you get on movies, they look absolute pitch black on the OLED screen compared to the LCD panel here, where the LCD again looks like someone has flashed a dim white light on it. But guys, watching these panels back to back in several lighting conditions, I found the difference to be quite noticeable only in pitch black rooms. If there is some sort of light, even not directly in the room where you're watching content on these iPads, the difference is not that noticeable. Because the LCD panel on the old one is also quite vibrant. It supports the wide color P3 gamut and it is an amazing display as well. But no denying here, the OLED display does look amazing. Next, performance. So we have the M2 chip on the old one paired with 8 gigs of RAM. The M2 chip configuration is 8-core CPU and 10-core GPU. The new iPad Pro skips the obvious successor, which is going to be the M3 chip altogether, and it goes for a brand new M4 chip, which is a first on any Apple device. The base 256GB model, which I have here, gets 9-core CPU and 10-core GPU configuration, whereas the 1TB and 2TB storage models get the full-fledged 10-core CPU configuration. The RAM, again, like last time, is 8 gigs on the lower storage models and 16 gigs on the higher ones. Now, Geekbench scores, if you compare, you see about 30% improvement in both single-core and multi-core scores and about 17% improvement in GPU scores. In real life, how big of a difference it makes? Well, let's find out. Let's export a 10-minute video project edited in LumaFusion on both these devices and see how long it takes. Let's get the timer. I need another hand here, but I'll take the head start of the counter into account. So 3, 2, 1, here we go. And the new one, it's done. It took about 6 minutes, 22 seconds on it. And the old one is still going. And finally it's done. It took about 7 minutes, 17 seconds. So the new one finished a whole minute early in exporting a 4K video project. Now that is impressive. Let's try opening apps and see if there is a difference as well. Let's do general apps first. Safari, again, it's almost the same time. Netflix, again, it's same. Amazon Prime, similar loading times again, like you see. There is no huge difference in app opening times on the old one and the new one. Just the new one is a tiny fraction quicker than the old one. But it's not noticeable to make any kind of huge difference. Let's open games next. I'll pick a few resource-intensive games here. First is Asphalt 9 Legends, and as you can see, slightly bit quicker on the new one. Call of Duty, again, a fraction quicker on the new one. Let's do Need for Speed next. Again, the M4 iPad Pro loaded slightly quickly, but not a huge difference here, guys. It's blazing fast on the M2 iPad Pro as well. Also, due to that OLED screen's refresh rate, things should appear smoother on the new one. Even though both these iPads support 120Hz refresh rate, do you notice this? I'm absolutely not sure here, guys, because I don't see any difference. Maybe if you inspect very closely, then yes, the new one appears to be a tad more responsive. But guys, again, you need to put them under microscopes to notice any sort of difference right away. Now, tasks beyond 4K video editing, I do not use them, guys. So if your workflow involves heavy-duty 3D animation, music production, etc., then you probably will see a bit more difference. But for most of us, the M2 processor is absolutely fast enough. Shall we look at cameras next? Front one, it has moved to the landscape side, just like how it was on iPad 10, and even the new iPad Air gets the same. And yes, it does help in video calls, as I don't think most of us use the iPad in portrait mode when making video calls. We always hold it in landscape orientation. It only makes sense for the camera to be on this location, and it is helpful. Resolution wise, it's the same 12 megapixels on both of them. At the back, we have a change. Apple actually took away that 10 megapixel ultra wide camera. Instead, we now have a LiDAR scanner in its place. There is also a new adaptive True Tone flash instead of just the plain True Tone flash on the old one. This is supposed to adapt to lighting conditions. Here are a few sample shots on both these devices. When it comes to video recording, it stays the same, minus the wide angle camera, obviously. Also, ProRes is capped at 1080p 30 fps for 256GB base storage model, whereas on last time, 4K and ProRes was supported on the 256GB models. Let's do speakers and microphone next. Both have quad speaker system, but Apple completely redesigned the arrangement. Again, You can see this via magnetic detection paper here. The number of perforated holes also changed. It's slightly more on the new one. So let's see if this makes any difference in audio quality. First, the M4 iPad Pro. Let's play a royalty-free track from YouTube Audio. And next, the M2 iPad Pro, that same royalty-free track again. So no huge difference here, guys. They both sound the same. Coming to microphones, I certainly don't see that many holes this time on the iPad as last. And yes, Apple has pulled one microphone out. So on the new one, you only get 4 studio quality microphones as opposed to 5 on the old one. Does it make a difference? Let's test it. Voice recording test on the M2 iPad Pro. Here is how the inbuilt microphones sound. Voice recording test on the M4 iPad Pro. Here is how the inbuilt microphones sound. Amazingly, I haven't noticed that huge difference. Even with one less microphone, the audio quality remained the same, especially when I tested it holding the iPad about 20 centimeters away from my face in landscape orientation. Next, let's talk about extras. So the base storage has been bumped up on the iPad Pros from the previous 128 gigabytes to 256 gigabytes on the new one. You get about 238 gigabytes free out of the box on the new iPad. The cost also has gone up by $200 in America, and it's even more in the UK if you consider that non-inflated price which the iPad Pro was sold when it launched. Now the price jump is only $100 if you compare it with the 256 gigabyte storage model from last year. But again guys, storage is usually a no extra cost option with new iterations, like how the new M2 iPad Air has got this year. So the new Oled M4 iPad Pro now painfully costs a whopping £1,000, and that is before adding a keyboard case and an Apple Pencil. And if you want to get most out of it, you need to add those accessories to make it a proper laptop replacement. And when you add those, you really can get a decent MacBook Air for that same cost. And whilst we're talking about extras, yes, you have a new Magic Keyboard, which looks really nice with that metal chassis and the Functions Row keys, and a new Apple Pencil Pro, which is amazing as well. It's got that new haptic motor with squeeze to trigger the menu options, along with Find My support as well. And you need to buy these two as the older ones are not supported with the new M4 iPad Pro anymore. And lastly, on cellular models, you don't get a SIM card tray option anymore. It's all eSIM now. So there you go, guys. That is the comparison done. If I did miss anything, do let me know in the comment section down below. So in conclusion, the M4 iPad Pro is superior in terms of that gorgeous OLED screen, but everything else really doesn't matter that much for most iPad users. And if you're upgrading from any previous iPad Pro models from the year 2020 onwards, then be prepared to buy all new accessories, cases, Apple Pencil, keyboard docks, etc., as all those that utilize magnets of the iPad Pros to connect or to work will no longer work with this new iPad. So that's all for the video, guys. What are your thoughts about this? Do you have any comments, suggestions? Do drop them in the comment section down below. And guys, if you're enjoying my content, a like to this video will be immensely helpful. And please do consider subscribing, support my channel so I can keep making these videos for you. And as always, thanks a lot for staying with me until the end. I will see you in my next video. Bye for now.